You're standing on the Lido deck, that ship's horn just blasted that bone-rattling B-flat note that excites so many cruisers. You got a drink in your hand, and for some reason, you and 3,000 of your newest friends are furiously waving at a guy on a forklift on the pier. Why do we do this? Why do perfectly sensible professionals and adults turn into deck decorating, towel folding, rubber duck hunting goofballs the second we cross the gangway? Today, we're gonna dissect the strange anthropology of cruise traditions. We're gonna look at why we hide toys in stairwells, why we cheer for people who are about to have the worst days of their lives, and we're gonna talk about some secret codes. And stick with me because there's one specific type of clothing that might be packed in your luggage right now that could be sending a very different kind of message to your fellow passengers, and you might not even be aware of it. Let's start with the most adrenaline-pumping spectator sport at sea. It is not the belly flop contest, and it's not the volleyball tournament. It is the Pier Runner Olympics. If you've ever cruised before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You find your spot on the top deck railing, usually about 10 minutes before that return to ship time. You grab a cocktail, you get your camera, and your phone's ready to record. Now below you, the gangway is being pulled in. The officers are checking their watches and the ship's engines are humming. And then you see them. Two tiny figures in the distance sprinting down the concrete pier like they're running from a zombie apocalypse. But cheers erupt from the balcony. People start clapping, they start screaming. Entire families chant, "Run, run, run, you can do it," like they're in the cheap seats at a gladiatorial stadium. Now there's something darkly psychological about this. It is this weird mix of empathy, because we've all been late. But it's also mixed with absolute schadenfreude. We are safe on the ship with our burgers and beers, and they're down there fighting for their vacation lives. And if they seem to be stumbling, we start judging them, just assuming they had too many margaritas at Señor Frog's. But here's what you need to know. It's not always funny. We laugh, but I've seen plenty of videos online, not in person yet, of the gangway actually pulled up and people really missing the ship. So we cheer for people, but then we sometimes feel bad for cheering for people. And people that cheer on pier runners and participate in that pier running tradition sometimes get judged by others, especially online. Why would you cheer for someone that's struggling? Because missing the ship is expensive. We're talking thousands of dollars, because in case you don't know, if you miss that ship, it is on you. You've got to figure out how to get yourself to the next destination or to get yourself home. And taking emergency transport, booking new flights, hotel rooms, stuff like that to try to catch up with the ship, if there even is an export, or getting yourself back to the home port, that's really expensive and that's really stressful. So by all means, we're gonna enjoy the show, we're gonna watch the runners, but it's an interesting psychological thing that happens. And those that get judged for the spectator sport of watching pier runners will say, well, it's just fun and games, and they should have timed better, and they're being selfish, and they could potentially risk this whole ship running late. For me personally, I love watching for pier runners. It is highly entertaining, but I also am a highly empathetic person. So if I ever did see someone get left behind, my heart absolutely would break for them. But when they make it on the ship, that for me is worth cheering. Now let's talk about the underground economy that has taken over the high seas. And some people actually feel pretty strongly about this in a negative way, which I don't quite understand. But if you've ever reached behind a potted plant or looked at the top of a handrail and found a tiny plastic rubber duck, or sometimes bigger ducks, with a tag attached to it, you have officially been initiated. This is the cruising ducks phenomenon. Oh, and actually, pause. Okay, I'm back. I had to pause because how timely. I just got these little guys from Amazon for my next cruise, which is in about a week. They're little tiny aqua colored ducks. And I also got these guys. I got custom door magnets with our names. And of course, they're ducks. So what's with the ducks? If you've never cruised before or you're new to cruising, you're probably wondering what is going on with this. Grown adults packing hundreds, yes, hundreds of ducks in their luggage, either these, rubber ducks, whatever, just to hide them for strangers to find. Now, the origin story is actually incredibly wholesome. It started with just one family on a carnival sailing back in 2018. So it actually blows my mind that this tradition is as recent as it is, because it's always been a thing when I've cruised. I just assumed it was like this forever and all time. But it actually just dates back to 2018. A young girl wanted to hide some ducks to make people smile. That was it. There was no big plan, there was no big ambition, it was just making people smile, and that is so incredibly sweet. But cruisers, we're a unique breed. We went absolutely feral for this idea. Now there are Facebook groups with tens of thousands of members debating duck hiding etiquette and tracking when people find a duck and then finding a duck and then re-hiding it. I'm not joking. There's arguments about whether or not you should hide ducks at all. Some cruise lines like Disney have tried to crack down on duck hiding. Some people think it's stupid and a waste. Some people spend months handcrafting these things. I've seen people hand crochet really elaborate ducks. So it's kind of like a global scavenger hunt that never ends. Now, cruise lines, they kind of have a love-hate relationship with these things. Officially, most of them ignore it or embrace the fun. Some of them, like Disney, try to crack down on it. Now, crew members will tell you sometimes they can be a little bit of a headache, especially when people kind of violate duck etiquette. You never want to put a duck in a pool, a hot tub, or in any kind of food area where it can mix in with food. But by and large, cruisers adhere to this unstated cruise hiding etiquette, and they hide them only in public spaces. Oh, also not in shops. You don't want to put them in shops because it can look like shoplifting. So I want to know what you think about duck hiding. Is it stupid, silly, and annoying, or is it just a whole lot of fun? Now let's go back to that waving that I mentioned at the start. Sail away is one of the most enduring rituals of cruising. And I tell you, that embarkation day energy, it is like nothing else. When that engine comes on and it shudders as the thrusters push off the dock, you hear that horn, the music kicks in, I hear the wobble, I go feral over the wobble, you hear steel drums. It is like excitement like nothing else. And we all tend to walk to the rail or we go to our balconies and we start waving goodbye. But pause for a second. Who exactly are we waving to? Now, sometimes if there's another ship in port, right, we're waving at them, they're waving at us, just like a bunch of fools, which is just silly, but also just so fun. But sometimes we're just waving at randos who are there on the ground. And the waving, it is just surprisingly contagious. I find myself doing it every single time. And I think the reason for this, there's just a psychological shift that happens when that horn blows. You're physically separating from land, you're heading out to the ocean, hopefully you're disconnecting from your real world life, email, your commute, your lawn care. So don't be too cool for school. Embrace the wave. It's silly, it makes no sense. People that are on the shore probably think that we're crazy. But for a few minutes, you're part of a floating village that is leaving the real world behind. So I say wave like you mean it and enjoy that wonderful part of the cruising community where we're sharing in these weird and sometimes silly traditions. Now let's talk about door decor, because I just showed you my little duck magnets. And this is a sleeper tradition that you might not notice until you're walking down a long hallway looking for your room, especially if you've indulged in the drink package. And that's cabin door decorating. Originally, it started as a practical hack. Now, if you've been on a cruise ship hallways, they can be like mazes, like can feel like endless corridors with identical beige doors. It's really easy, especially again, if you've had a few drinks or you're seasick and you're wobbling around, to forget if you're in cabin 1204 or 1206. Am I on the starboard side? Am I on the port side? Am I forward? Am I aft? Where am I at? So people started putting a sticker or a bow on their door to recognize it. And just like the ducks, this ended up escalating into a full-blown design war. And I'm talking about a fun one. I'm talking about people who bring laminated signs, magnetic photo frames. Some people go all out with full battery-operated light displays, especially around the holidays. They'll do full Halloween scenes, and it's just a whole lot of fun. Now for me, I stick with my basics. I now have my new customized cruise ducks, which I'm super excited about, which by the way, I'll drop a link below where you can get them if you want to check yours out. It's a small business. He has an Etsy shop. He loves cruising. His name's Jim Lauer, a great guy. But if you want to get your magnets, I'll give you the link below. But the trap that you got to know about, I got to warn you so you don't end up disappointed, is can't always do magnets because not all cruise ship doors are metal. Some of them are coated instead with a special fire retardant finish. And I've had many times where I've gone on a cruise and I got my little magnets out and I'm super excited to put them up and they don't stick. Now, if that's the case, usually you can still put them on the door frame. Usually the door frame is metal, so the magnets will stick. Or sometimes the panel next to your door is metal, so you can stick them there. You just have to be careful with tape, command strips, stuff like that, adhesive, because a lot of cruise lines do not like that. And if you use it and you damage the finish, the cruise line is going to probably charge you. So just go with magnets. Don't try to go with other things and risk a bill. And by the way, my favorite magnet on cruises, this is a really fun way to engage with your neighbors and your fellow cruisers, is I have a small magnetic whiteboard with a marker that also has a magnetic back. And every day I will ask some kind of philosophical question. Like if you had one superpower, what would it be? Would you rather be invisible or be able to teleport? And people vote. Or you can say, what's your favorite cruise ship food? Is it Guy's Burgers or Blue Iguana? And people vote. And it's just a really, really fun thing to do. So big fan of that one as well. Now let's talk about the big thing in cruising. You walk into your stateroom after dinner, the lights are dim, the bed is turned down, which is one of the great things about cruising was when they do that turn down service. And there, sitting on your duvet, is a beautiful swan or a monkey hanging from the ceiling vent wearing your sunglasses or some abstract lump that you can't figure out what it is. What are these? They're towel animals. This is one of those traditions that people claim they don't care about. You say they don't care about it, but you know good and well, if the room steward forgets one night, you are disappointed. Okay, most of you are. I know me, as much as I cruise at least once a month. I love some towel animals, absolutely love it. But there has been a little bit of controversy about this. Some cruise lines have tried to scale back on towel animals to save on laundry resources and be more eco-friendly. That's always what they say when they want to try to save money. So they switched to by request only. So this scale back, I think, is ill-advised. Towel animals, they're pretty cheap in the grand scheme of things. I actually use my towel. I like the towel animals because You know, when I have like a hair wash day and they're kind of stingy on towels, that's an extra towel, and I'll destroy my towel animal, which I kind of hate to do. So I have extra towels, and I think they're really, really cute. It's a personal touch and a mass market experience. Cruise lines are nickel and diming left and right, and it's one of those mainstays of cruising that really people bring delight in, and not just kids, but adults too. And by the way, if you've never seen a cruise stateroom attendant make a towel animal, it's pretty amazing. They can knock these things out in like under a minute. It's crazy. And some cruise lines really embrace towel animals, and they'll even offer towel folding classes on sea days. I've done that before, and that's really fun. And some of them, like Carnival, will do a little towel animal parade where one day out on the Lido deck around the pool, they'll have all these elaborate towel animals set up for people to come and enjoy. And I absolutely love that part of cruising. And these are the little fun, stupid, silly traditions that make cruising so special, fun, and unique. All right, let's talk about the fruit. Let's talk about the pineapple. You might see pineapples on cabin doors, some right side, some upside down. You might see a lot of people wearing shirts with pineapple prints. In fact, on one of my first cruises, I wore a pineapple bikini, thinking, hey, the pineapple is a symbol of hospitality. It's charming, it's welcoming, it's tropical. But on a cruise ship, it can mean something very different. An upside down pineapple is widely recognized as a subtle signal for swingers. It indicates that the couple in that cabin is looking for company, wink, wink. Now, here's the reality check, because the internet has really kind of gone wild with this. They've kind of blown it out of proportion. And I've actually done interviews with lifestylers. I have a video about it that kind of gives you the inside baseball knowledge, because I'm always fascinated in psychology. And as a loyal monogamist, I've always been curious about this and how people can live that lifestyle, but in a non-judgmental way. So if you want to check out that interview, I'll drop that link below. But it's really become overblown. People started to lose their minds about it. People started to make it jokey. And again, it's not for me, but I don't judge people and how they want to live their lives. And some people are like, oh my God, I can't wear my pineapple shirt. People are going to like attack me. Nobody's going to bother you. They're really not going to bother you. The lifestyle community on board, as I learned from my interview, they're typically very discreet. They're not predatory. And when I wore my pineapple bikini and the pineapples were at all different angles, some of them upside down, not one single person bothered me. Now, if you are interested in that, the clear signal is an upside down pineapple magnet on your door, specifically upside down, or specifically that says things like the more the merrier. With that, you are sending a clear signal that you're looking for a certain type of cruise experience. I do recommend though, because people have taken this out of control, if you like pineapples but you're not a lifestyler, just avoid pineapple magnets, because all someone has to do is turn it upside down to give it a very different meaning. So I want to know what you think about all of these cruise traditions, the psychology behind them, and why we do it and why we love it so much. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's talk ship.